Jump in the box, baseball fans. Welcome back to another episode of Batter Up with Brett and John. What is up, John?
Not much, Brett. I'm doing great on this Saturday night. We're a day later than normal, but back better than ever, week to week. I think we're on our fourth straight week now. Look to keep it going. I think you got a surprise opener to lead us off with.
I do, and we're not even starting out with baseball. We're not even starting out with basketball or football. Guess what comes out this week?
Series 2 hockey.
Series 2 hockey, Upper Deck. Guys, I am no financial expert. I spend your money the way you want to spend it. But if you see retail of Series 2 Upper Deck hockey, I would buy it because hobby boxes are pre-selling for $300 a piece. The Connor Bedard insanity is going nuts. The Young Gun, what would you compare a Young Gun to? An SSP
Bowman.
Goldmere or a first Bowman?
Probably like a first Bowman, probably.
Berg says, I'm all in on Series 2. Behind the scenes on a couple other chats I'm on, people are on Series 2 hockey. I looked up on Breaker Comp. I have a credit to Real Breaks, and I was going to use that $1,000 credit to buy the Blackhawks in a case break. On Breaker Comp, guess what the lowest break so far of a full case break of the Blackhawks is?
I don't even know what the normal price would be. $350?
It's $2,000 to buy the Blackhawks in a case break.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was way off.
It was insane, man. I mean, I know those Young Guns are very, very, very collectible. And buy the tins, buy the blasters, and you know what? Sell them all and go buy Bowman. Get free Bowman. That's just my take. Go get free Bowman this year, guys.
How many
For
people
every one of those you sell, you get a free Bowman.
I mean, that stuff should be on Target. Usually you see that stuff on Target. Whenever it drops, you get a really good chance to get some of that on a Target app. Walmart.com. In store, obviously, like you said, it's probably the easiest, just because of a popular rookie, the easiest money you'll probably make all year in hockey, probably in 10 years in terms of hockey. I mean, it's not like he's Wayne Gretzky or anything, but or Alex Ovechkin or something. But yeah, you're probably right on that. Yeah.
I'm blown away that I would ever lead in with this show with hockey. That's how hot Connor Bedard is. And the Blackhawks could have the number one pick again this year, as bad as they've been. Imagine having back-to-back years with two of the best players, and that could help Bedard in the long run too. Just kind of catching up on some chat here.
Yeah. Well, I know when it comes to hockey, I know nothing about that subject, but when it comes to baseball, you know a lot about that subject. So, spring training so far, who's hot, who's not? I heard a lot about Spencer Jones. I've heard a few people got hurt already, but overall, what are the big names that you hear a lot of going into the second week of spring training here?
I just haven't consumed a whole lot so far. I was able to see Owen Casey for the Cubs hit a bomb yesterday. That was good to see, my Cubbies. But obviously Shohei Ohtani made his debut with the Dodgers, and that was like the whole news.
But he's playing already?
Yeah. I think he did play. I think he batted. He hit a home run in his second at bat.
But he's not pitching.
Not pitching this year.
Okay, but he is batting. Okay,
he is batting. And then the other one was Skeens, the number one pick, or he was number 2 pick, wasn't he? Bowman draft. He faced Jackson Holliday, throwing 102 mile an hour gas, and struck out Holliday. So those are some of the ones that I saw. But I haven't been totally on my game in terms of spring baseball so far.
Yeah, I think it's really too early. The sample size is really low. I tried to check some of the stats to see who some of the early leaders were in terms of spring training stats when it comes to home runs or WAR. I don't know that you can get WAR in that, but OPS, home runs, RBIs, just see who's hitting the hell out of the ball. There were a few names that popped up there that are kind of a little bit of a surprise from last year. But I know it's so early. See in the chat here, Langford hit 2 home runs. Mervis hit a home run. Yeah, we got a lot of Michael Harris having a good spring training. Lots of guys obviously are have a chance to break out this year. I think Chorio, from what I can tell, is playing with the Brewers. I think he was batting .333 in spring training early. I haven't heard officially that he's brought up yet or that he will make the opening day roster, but I have to anticipate that's probably going to happen. Brewers are kind of in a rebuilding mode, I would imagine. They got a new manager this year, and they didn't sign Corbin Burns, so they're going to start over a little bit. So now is the time to bring some of those guys up. James Wood, obviously tearing the cover off the ball. That's good. Yeah, lots of things can happen here in the month of March that will set the stage for early season sales. I know for me personally, I've got my last batch of PSA orders coming back. I'm going to be in a kind of a blitz over the next 30 days, just selling as much baseball as I can. I'll both auction and buy it nows. And hopefully that will do pretty well for me leading into the NBA playoffs. And then I'll sell a bunch of NBA, hopefully, and try to get more on a cycle when it comes to that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have any other things to say about spring training, but yeah.
Yeah. In the title, I added it and I put "the hobby is dead." I also pinned the comment, and I just laugh when people say that. Because it's just starting to crank up. I sent you a message, the Oak Creek Card Show. I did not go. I've had friends who have gone. I just haven't been able to go. Last month was the record number of people they had in the door. This month they beat that record again, and cards are selling. And then getting into the topic of the hobby's dead, PSA goes and buys SGC, takes out their number one competition basically. And I mean, last month in February, PSA graded 1.24 million cards. Speaking of which, even with their special, the turnaround times have not changed. They are blowing through the cards. Remind me, we'll get back to my story about my grading submission that's coming back, because I was surprised by where it shipped from. But the news that I was shocked when I saw, man, SGC sold out to PSA. Wow. What do you think?
Well, I mean, a lot of people speculate that was sort of a block. Maybe Fanatics was interested in SGC. I mean, I'm no insider. I think there's a lot of people that can report on that a little more intricately than I can. The only thing I can speculate is either they wanted to build a bigger empire or they wanted to block Fanatics from getting it because they didn't want serious competition. If there was a cash infusion of Fanatics pushing a lot of money into SGC or a grading company, it would have created a little more parity in terms of two different empires that are in control of grading. But let's be honest, PSA buying SGC, I know they probably paid a very good premium for it, and I've heard they want to go public again or whatever that will entail. It could all very well be true, but I had a video I made yesterday on my channel talking about it's going to be okay, guys. Trust me, it's going to be okay. I know Chris is in here. Chris, gave some pretty good feedback that I didn't think about. But obviously, when I think about the hobby as a whole, and you said the hobby is dead. Well, if you let these things influence you in a negative fashion and you let them, you stew on them, yeah, it'll frustrate you. But I'd rather not spend my time about that. We're going to get frustrated over and over again with print errors, with missing stamps on cards, with too much pumping going on. If we are smart and we've been doing this for a while, we should have learned our lesson. Don't get overhyped. Don't buy stuff that's the wrong price. Don't grade stuff at too high of a price, and be very, very smart with your cash, and you'll do okay. and you can still hobby and you can still be there with your friends. And that's where the interest should really be, is around the community of people that you engage with, whether it's sharing your stories, whether it's showing off your favorite cards to your favorite friends or whatever, or hunting down your favorite players at a card show. You can still do all of that. And whether PSA owns SGC or not, it shouldn't affect that one iota. It also shouldn't affect whether Fanatics makes all these mistakes or not. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to buy the new product. You want to go wait a while and wait and buy it when it's on clearance? Go do that. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll get to that subject in a bit, but I wasn't going to buy any Series 1 this year. So when I heard about the mistake, I could care less because I wasn't going to buy it. And that was maybe a hard take at the time, but I bought 1 mega box. I've stayed with that. I'm not buying any Series 1, at least not for now.
My personality fits this hobby really well because I'm a realist. When I see things that are awesome, that I think are awesome, I'm all in on them. If they're total crap or if there's some news, I don't get influenced easily by other people in terms of like hype. And I look at things for what I see. And like, let's face it, there are so many people who just dog PSA. Oh, their prices are too much. Oh, they grade too many cards. But plain and simple, they're the number one. They are the king of sports card grading. If you're in it, you grade with them, deal with it. You play by their rules. There's no reason to, if you're grading modern cards, there's no reason to grade with anybody else except for PSA. If you're grading vintage, you should 100% go with SGC. That's what the vintage collectors want, SGC most of the time. And I think this is a good move by PSA to buy them. That takes out their number one competition, if you want to call them competition. Helps SGC. I think it's a great move. I like the move, obviously. And, if I had vintage, I'd be sending my stuff to SGC. I don't think SGC is going to raise prices. I don't see how you can. I mean,
it's going to be bad. And I don't see how PSA can raise prices either.
No.
Because we already know the market's a little sensitive to price. We already know that the secondary market doesn't buy PSA 10s, even if they're PSA 10s of base rookies. There's a lot of stuff people have graded in the last year that they shouldn't have graded. And those cards are going for so cheap. You get 9s. Now people are paying under raw value for a 9. It's almost better to crack the card and have the hope that maybe it'll get a 10. But, when it comes to PSA's prices or SGC's prices, I don't see them going back up to the stratosphere, even if the hobby interest is at an all-time high, because the secondary market won't support it. And that's going to be true no matter who owns who. If people won't open their wallet on eBay to go buy a PSA 10 or an SGC 10 or whatever because they can't afford it, then PSA can't raise the prices even though they own a bigger empire. They can't, because that'll be bad for business. Yeah. There aren't a million cards to go around. There are a million cards to go around, but there aren't a million cards to go around when there's $30 to grade a card. Sorry, there won't be a million submissions a month. I don't think so.
Well, one other thing I don't think I've heard anybody talk about is, like PSA, they just had this special and they graded 1.24 million cards. It didn't slow them down one bit. The one area that they are slow on is vintage card grading. I don't grade vintage, but I have a buddy who grades tons of vintage with PSA. And that turnaround time is taking forever. 3 months.
I've heard this actually 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
This actually helps PSA a lot, because I wouldn't be surprised if they start using SGC to do vintage grading within their house too. This kind of gives them some flexibility and expansion to improve their grading times on vintage and make it better. Yeah. So if I was a vintage grader, I'd be pretty excited about this move myself.
In the chat, we got a couple good comments from people. I'll try to shout them out. I'm going to miss a few, but great point raised by Kiwi Cards. 60% of what PSA is currently grading with the 1.2 million card population addition month to month is TCG. So it's not sports cards that are going up to 1.2 million. That is less than half their business right now. And I agree that when it comes to the specials they've ran really good specials on TCG around that $14 range, and they've tried to hold to that. I think maybe they're at $15 now or $18. I don't remember where they're at, but the sports card market won't support a $30 grading fee. They won't. They're going to have to continue to push that down to around the $15 to $19 range and see what happens. But like you said, they got flooded with things. It slowed down a bit, but they're still cranking the orders out in less than 30 days. And if they can do that at $15 a card, and you say the hobby is at an all-time high interest, they're not going to ramp that back up to 2 million. They can't go to 2 million cards a month and go to $30 submissions. There won't be enough people to submit there, and they probably know that. So
I just pulled up gem rate to just kind of see what the numbers were. In the last 30 days, they've graded 511,000 trading card. And then in that same time, I'm just rounding here, 311,000 baseball cards, 190,000 football cards, 155,000 baseball cards. And then if you start throwing in soccer, hockey, non-sport, multiple sport, you're looking at another 100,000 cards. So yeah, it's not quite 60%. It's probably a little less than 50% by just eyeballing this in the last 30 days. But yeah, trading card games are huge. Let's face it, Pokemon is graded a ton. I wonder how many Charizards are graded a year.
It's got to be a lot. I mean, I think that also includes the Lorcana, if I'm not mistaken, and some other non-sports card products. I think they lump it all under one umbrella. The hype around that when it first came out was pretty high. I know a lot of people graded there. There's probably some cards I got. My wife wanted a box, so I gave her a box to open, and she pulled some decent stuff. I didn't grade any of it, just because I thought I don't really know what to do with this. It's not my thing. I'm just going to keep it in very good condition, and if I find out I should have graded it because the popularity is there, I can always grade it later on.
After looking at some of this stuff, when I got into grading, I did grade some of my Bowman cards with Becket. Like, Becket used to be the king of Bowman. If you had a Bowman card, you sent it to Becket because Bowman buyers just wanted Becket. And man, how they just, when COVID hit, it's adapt or die, and they are dying a slow death. Yeah. I cannot believe that they only graded 66,000 cards last month. I don't understand why they haven't made any adjustments. They do no social media stuff. It's their marketing. Whoever's in charge over there, they need to find somebody else. I feel like an amateur hour dude, a PE teacher like me, could go in there and improve their grading compared to what they're doing. It's bad.
It's really bad. And you know what I think it hurts, though, is those cards that were graded with BGS way, way back in the day. I even own a few, some pretty rare cards, some nice Steph Curry stuff from way early in his career. And honestly, I'm surprised those cards. There's one right there at BGS 9 or 85. There are cards that I think should be valued more than they are that were graded under the old genre of BGS. So you trusted that, right? What they've done recently, throw that out the window. If you look at the serial number in the card and you say, oh, that's a really early serial number, honestly, whether they lost graders or lost trust or whatever, I know that's not the way. Ziggy Noah and I, when we were doing our live the other night, he was talking about logic. The moment you bring logic into sports cards, you got to forget. You got to remember, it's about emotion. And the emotion is BGS sucks right now. But the logic would say, if you trusted that card to be graded well way, way back in the day, what's changed other than your current opinion and emotion about BGS? That's it. So I don't have a ton of BGS cards. I haven't cracked any or resubbed them, but I'm just going to hold tight for now and see what happens and not panic. And they're all cards that I don't think are easy to come by, and I just don't feel like I need to take them out of there and rush to go put them in a PSA slab. I'm just going to hold them. I'm going to hold steady, they're not cards I was planning on selling anyway, so I don't care.
Yeah, I hear you there. I was surprised when that news came out though. I was pretty shocked. But man, the card grading game, it is a wacky world. We've talked about it many times. Some people love it, some people hate it. But if you are selling cards and you're opening product, I mean, there are guys who make a living buying singles and grade them and sell them, and they're good at it. And everybody in here we could do it. I mean, literally, you could go to card shows, buy singles, grade them, and make money. It's a crazy world we live in. That's all I got to say.
It is. Another comment by K Cards and a couple others I want to get to. There's concern that PSA Buying SGC will increase prices and increase the grading fees. I would say, you want an example about that, go back to the COVID times when they raised their prices and shut down, and it was $75 a card. There is not a single card out there that was graded for the $75 that sells in the secondary market for the price that the grading cost. And so PSA has to know that no customer is going to voluntarily lose money. They're not going to do that. So they can't get too greedy with the grading fees and creep them up with inflation or whatever and say, oh, it's $15 today or it's $19 today. Oh, you know what? We want $22 tomorrow. We want $25 3 months later. We want $30 after that. Eventually, there'll become a tipping point where it's like, people aren't willing to pay for this, what you're going to charge, so I'm just not going to submit it. And that'll be the balance between the push-pull of how many cards they're going to grade in a month and how much cash they can get from customers to grade cards. And I think right now, the $15 supports about 500,000 sports cards a month. And if it was $20, they wouldn't get 500,000 sports cards a month. They'd get about 400,000. And they know that. They have to know that. They're not, I think that they would use a good point of sale system to know we can charge what we can charge and people will or won't submit. And unless people rip and buy secondary market and buy the greatest things ever, and there's an influx of that, I don't see the prices going up. I see them holding steady to even a little bit more downward pressure on prices, at least in the short term.
You know, one other take before we move on from PSA Buying SGC is you stick it on the grading part. Like the last couple months, I've looked over cards, some cards, and I've really held back at the $19 level, the $16 level. I've held a bunch of cards back saying, you know what? I'm not going to take a risk here because if this does not 10, I'm going to be losing money. Plain and simple. Yeah. You know, like why am I going to grade this Prism Gunnar Henderson? If it doesn't get a 10, it isn't worth the 16 plus $1 or $2, depending on how many you send on shipping both ways. So I've held back. If they drop the price, it would be beneficial to them to drop the prices back to $10. I would swarm them with literally 200 cards immediately.
I still even think at $10 though, how many of those cards would in the aftermarket sell for a decent profit margin? I mean, some of the cards that will probably be included in that umbrella are going to be like Francisco Alvarez base rookie cards, whether it be a chrome or a paper stock. And to be honest, those cards already sell for $10.
Yeah, I would.
So the downward pressure on those, it won't support grading any of those cards. And where's the other volume going to come from?
I would have sent a whole stack, an entire stack of Gunners, Corbins, and Adley Rutschman, Prisms, Sepias. I didn't send any this time. I would have literally sent 50 cards just on those three guys. That's the difference in the price point. Like if it was $8, I'm sending them all. You know, because if you grade it for $8 and you could sell it for $30, you make $20 a card. Well, those are like $5 cards at the most. It's an interesting the grading game how things have changed.
We just have to wait and see if the grading. I mean, a lot of comments, a lot of anxiety around it. Some really good points here being raised by the chat. When it comes to grading, I think customers like myself and yourself, or, whether it be a big dealer or a small time person like me, if we don't feel like the value's there, we're not going to grade the cards. Simple as that. I'm not going to renew my PSA membership. I won't. If it gets too high, I will walk away. I have to be strong enough to do that. Many other people won't be that strong. They'll feel like they got to double down. They'll feel like they got to stay in the madness. And I would just say, you got to think with your wallet. If it means taking a break and going in a different direction temporarily just to keep your own sanity, but also to spend your money wisely and manage your cash flow, then you got to do that.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it one more year here with grading. I don't have any piles of gradable cards right now. Even at $10, I don't think I'd sent an influx in. But we'll see what happens when Chrome comes out. We'll see what happens when Logo Fractor comes out. We'll see what happens when Bowman comes out, if I'm interested in that this year. We'll see what happens with other products that already came out that maybe are a lower price. There might be other cards I'm going to grade. But at the end of this year, if I'm in the hobby, and I will be in the hobby for years to come, if I'm not going to be apt to turn in cards at the same volume I was this year and last year, I'm just going to walk away. And there could be people like that out there. That's all I'm saying is don't panic. It's going to be okay. Don't feel like you're going to have a fear of missing out on some great opportunity if you're going to lose money or it's going to cost you more. It's okay to walk away from the table and keep your chips.
Yep. Speaking of the hobby's dead, this has been the weirdest year that I've had personally since I started buying cards again in 2015. Because we had Series 1 come out on February 14th. We have the next product of Topps coming out is Archive Signature Series, which is on the 13th of March. That product is terrible, by the way. Maybe they do something to change it. And then I don't know what else is next after that. I've looked. I don't know what's coming out after that. But the next thing on the slate is May 8th for Bowman. I mean, I'm just kind of like in no man's land where I opened up that case of Series 1. Wasn't going to open Series 1. Then I got them. You sent me that link for $10 a piece. I opened my 74 hangers. I don't really feel like going and buying more Series 1. I'm kind of fatigued. I sent you guys a message. I'm kind of hobby fatigued anyway. I needed a break between life and the hobby. I just needed a break, and this is a good time. Tracker's not doing all that great, and it's just like this has been a nice little reset. But man, last weekend was fun. Last weekend was real fun. We did Friday night. I didn't tell you about Saturday. I went to Chicagoland Sports Cards, and they had that rip party, and they did like a pack war. And I brought my buyback in from Saturday morning and opened another case of Chrome, 2023 Chrome Blasters in store. And man, I had a great time. And here's what's really disappointed. I was really disappointed is there were a lot of kids there, which was awesome to see. There were, I don't know, I'm estimating there was like 40 people there, and 20 of them were kids doing the pack battle. And I asked every kid that came through, hey, what's your favorite baseball team? No, I don't watch baseball. Dude, I mean, there was only a couple kids that even gave me a team. And then like the one kid says, I'm a White Sox fan. So I flipped through real fast to the base I was putting there and gave him Oscar Colas Sepia. Another kid said he was a Cubs fan. So I gave him a Chris Morel rookie card. But overall, man, I'm disappointed because none of the kids are watching baseball.
What are they watching?
Football and basketball.
No, who are their favorite basketball players?
I didn't ask them their players.
Probably
I'm sure it's Steph Curry.
Yeah, it's probably Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Halliburton, Ant-Man. People still like LeBron. There's a lot of other Jason Tatum. The NBA has some talent. They definitely do. I will say that for me personally, when it comes to products, you were talking about products and taking a break. I was all set to take a break. I am all set to take a break. I wasn't going to open any Series 1. I really wasn't going to open much for my channel. But then I came across a video that came out the other day from a newer channel that has a few more subscribers than I do, but that's okay. Anyway, they opened up a blaster case, several blaster cases of of regular update from last year, 2023. The price that has driven itself down to was staggering. You can get that for about $12 a box now. I know I said I wasn't going to buy any of that product, and I know I opened a blaster case because I got a Black Friday deal on it. But all in, shipped to the door, I got a case from Dave and Adams today. I pulled the trigger for $480 all in. So I think it works out to like 11 something a box, and that includes shipping, tax, everything. Here's my rationale, and I told you this earlier, but for the people in here, my rationale was I had opened up a couple of jumbos on my channel. I had opened up 8 Rogue blasters. I have partially completed sets that I need to make complete sets for to get some money back for them. Complete sets are still holding a pretty steady price because they're harder to make. So my rationale was I got to make complete sets for those anyway. So I'm going to buy another case at the right price. This will be an experiment to see, can I make even more complete sets than I was going to make out of a complete case? Can I make more than 6 complete sets like I did the last time? Can I complete the 3 or 4 that I already have, most of them completed, fill in the gaps, and then have about 10 complete sets to sell for the $480 price point? 10 complete sets would be, I don't know what they're going for, about $30 a piece. That could be decent to cover about half to a little bit more than half the case. Everything I graded from that product got a 10. Every single one. I didn't grade any of the Halloween parallels, but every single other parallel and SSP and auto or whatever from that product last year got a 10. So I know it's a grade-worthy product. It grades well. You get a couple of really good players. Usually you get 4 or 5 in a case. So I figured that's a low risk. I was willing to take that, and I get about 10 or 15 videos out of it for my channel. So that was my rationale. Maybe a dumb idea, but to me it seemed like a low risk, high reward, or medium reward, and a fun experiment, given that that product is driven down so cheap now that it's about half of what it originally cost.
I mean, $12 a box to open anything these days. And it update's awesome, man. I always like update because, like you said, with the complete sets, the only way to get them is to sort them out, and people are always buying update sets. It only takes one of those guys to really go crazy. And the rookie class for 2023 was awesome. So you still have all the debuts of all those guys. And when you sent that to me, I'm like I said, I'm burnt out. Like, I'm officially burnt out. And I don't know if I want to take on buying any more, open any more right now. The time off has been really good for me. But it's like, guys, if you guys are looking for something ripped, those blaster boxes are awesome. And speaking of Wiffle Breakers, who did that video, I've been subscribed to them for a while. One of the reasons I've been subscribed to them is because they break lots of product. They're a breaker, mostly a breaker. Mm-hmm. And they open a lot of baseball products. And one of the ways I learn about products is I am subscribed to more breakers than I am actual content producers, because I want to consistently see recaps and breaks of the product to see what's the more you see them, mm-hmm. the more realistic it becomes. It's like that sample size. It's like you're going off of 2 weeks of a dude who comes out in spring and bats 400, and then by the end of June he's a 200 hitter. It's the same way with these products. You get an idea of what's realistic and what's not. Like getting away from update last year, the blasters are great from update last year with that new parallel. Yeah. The Halloween. I like that.
I don't know that I get a case of hangers.
No, I wouldn't either.
Buy that. But the case of blasters with the Halloween parallels, the chance at a low numbered Corbin Carroll or Gunnar Henderson or Adley Rutschman, I know it's a debut, and I know I said I hated that product, but for $12 a box, all in, shipped to the door, I just thought, man, the risk here is so low if I'm going to complete sets anyway. And I just thought, man, for the month of March, I want it just for the fun entertainment of it. See what happens. See if the experiment pays off. I will track the financials on this to see what actually happens, because I know I've got like 5 boxes in my office over there that are partially completed sets. Some of them are only missing 5 or 6 cards. Some are missing about 50 cards. So if I can complete those and have 5 or 6 more, I'm going to be in great shape to get most of my money back just in complete sets, I feel.
Yeah, let's talk about some Series 1 some more, since it's only a few weeks out. I've had an opportunity to rip 74 hanger boxes. No, I just said I was fatigued. But if you told me that I could get blasters or not blasters, but hanger boxes of Series 1 for $10 a piece again, I would buy some more.
You're going to see it come back to that. You're going to see a pullback on that. Right now, it's the hot thing. It's the shiny thing. Yes, the rookie class is pretty good, but we all know what happened with 2022 update. Those hanger boxes spiked at one point. They got 25, 30 bucks. And then they came crashing back down at one point to like $15. And then on Black Friday, you could buy a whole case for almost the price of what they were originally.
Yeah.
So I think with Series 1, you will see that opportunity, but you got to let the hype die down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not paying $13 plus tax.
I saw some at Meyer today. I didn't touch them. I walked right past.
Yeah, I went to Meyer, and man, somebody made a comment on my video. I went to Meyer yesterday. They stock on Thursdays usually, but I didn't go Thursday. Like I said, I'm just getting hobby fatigue. So I'm like, but I went by there to get some stuff right after school, and they had all the Series 1 blister packs with the purples, and I'm like, for $4.99, I'm not buying any of these. And usually, I'm telling you, any year prior to this, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I would have bought all those if they were sitting there. And that's the first time that I did not buy them. I'm like, why would I buy 2 of these blister packs for $10 when I just opened hanger cases?
What did somebody do with all the balloons floating?
That's crazy, bro.
What was that?
I don't know.
That was weird.
How did that even happen?
I don't know how that even happened. That was so weird. I didn't press anything. All of a sudden, you got a bunch of floaty balloons through your screen. I thought that was kind of cool. Thought you maybe had some kind of feature.
Beats me, bro. It's not my birthday.
That was funny, yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think if Meyer was running a sale right now for the buy one get one half off, I might consider it. I just don't think the value's there for $5 a pack. When you consider the Meyer purples, they sort of lost their cachet a little bit during the pandemic. You used to sell the any base card would go for like $2 to $3, and it would cover the cost of the pack. At $5 a pack, I don't think you're going to sell Kyle Stowers' second year card in a purple for $5. You're probably going to sell it for like $2. The pack itself is going to be fairly watered down. You're going to get a ton of home run challenge cards. I watched Up North Collectors open like 10 of those last night. He pulled like, I want to say 6 or 8 home run challenge cards. He pulled 2 numbered cards, which wasn't terrible, but I still don't think if you don't get an Ellie, you don't get an Evan Carter, you don't get a one of the other big rookies. I'm blanking on Jason Dominguez. Sorry about that. But if you don't get one of those guys, I just don't think you're going to get $5 on average back. I used to treat that as a free opening when it was $3.49 a pack. I would treat that as like, I'm going to sell the purple and whatever's in the pack, I'll do what I can if I grade, whatever. But to me, that was free. The update version of that from 2022 when they were blister packs and then it was 2 purples per pack. Remember that? I considered that a really free opening. That was a no-brainer. Go buy as many of those as you can find. Even if you didn't pull a Julio or a Bobby, you still did well on those because there was less printed, so you had better chances to pull some good stuff from the packs, and there were 2 purples per pack instead of 1. Now it's 1 purple per pack. They're $1.50 more a pack. It's watered down. I don't think it justifies buying it, even though it is exclusive to Meyer and you can't get it everywhere.
Yeah, dude, if those were $2.99 yesterday, I would have probably bought them all, but not for $4.99 plus tax. Lucky Peter says, "Why don't you ripping that 2022 Bowman case?" Of actually, my guy. We're gonna get into the next topic. Actually, my guy wants to buy this. So my buddy Chris hits me up. He calls me today and says, "Hey, you'll never guess." He goes, "I just happened to run into your guy at the card show, and I didn't know who he was." He goes, "Now I know who comes over to your house and buys all the time." And a couple points I want to make here is one, when you're at card shows, you can learn from the professionals. There are people who are really good at buying and selling and making some profit in this hobby. And my guy is one of those guys. And also in this hobby, you can meet a lot of really good people. And you have to be willing to talk to people when you're there. My buddy Chris just happened to see my guy buy a table last month at the show. And he's like, "Wow, that dude just bought that table." And then this month he saw him and he went up to him and said, "Hey, can I ask you a question? How do you do this?" And then my guy started telling him, like, "Look, I have a network of people and places where to sell cards." So I want to ask the chat, where do you sell your cards? I think we can all agree the high-end cards are easy to sell. You know, my Patrick Mahomes, although it's not high-end, it's a good, I mean, dude, that was a $500 card almost. That was an easy sell. I put that on bids, put it on eBay. That's an easy sell, right? But what are some other, I always hear people, what do you do with all your base? What do you do with all your inserts? What do you do? And yeah. I kind of want to see what people say in the chat.
eBay for me, I've succumbed to the fact that, yeah, there's going to be some winners, losers. For the most part, you're gonna just have to accept the fact they're taking 12% off the table. I build it in as sort of shrinkage in any profit margin. I don't want to. The way I look at it is sort of like macro level view. I'm going to win some. I'm going to lose some on eBay. Some stuff's going to go for more than it should, and the 12% won't make a difference. Some stuff's going to go for less than it should, and the 12% will make a difference. But in the end, if I grade a 10 and I want a big network of people to see that card, selling it on eBay for a buy it now or best offer sometimes gets you the best deal. Selling into the hype with auctions will get you the best deal, but not always. I learned my lesson a couple of times. Trying to time an auction is very tricky. You could time it like you did with the Mahomes right after he won the Super Bowl. Heck, I tried to sell a Steph Curry the night after on bids, the night after he beat the 3-point contest that they had at the All-Star game. And the Warriors are on fire right now. And I never sell Steph Curry cards. And I'm like, I'm just going to experiment and see if I can sell this card on an auction that ends during the All-Star game. And I got slaughtered on it. Absolutely slaughtered on that card. I almost like cried thinking, yeah, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to cry. But you get, figuratively speaking, I was like, I can't believe this card went for this cheap.
Yeah.
And I messaged the guy that won it. I said, "Did you realize you won this card?" I said, "You have to pay for it." And that was like 2 days later. He's like, "I didn't think I'd win it." And I said, "I didn't think you would either." But I said, "A deal's a deal. I got to sell it to you." Yes. So I got my grading fee back on that card, thank God. But I didn't. It was in a 10. It was a silver prism, basically the hobby version from 2020 select. And it sold for like $30. That's a $50 card all day. I got slaughtered on that card. And that taught me, unless you're selling during a game that matters, you're going to get smoked on auctions, most likely.
Yeah. I love 99-cent auctions for various reasons. I've gone through multiple consignments now. I used to sell all the time. I just love setting them at 99 cents and seeing where they go. And for every card that you get crushed on, there's another card that you're like, I can't believe that card sold for what it did. They all balance out, man.
It's funny you mentioned that. The mega that I opened of 2024 Top Series 1, I pulled a Bryce Harper numbered to 999, a blue color match, a really nice looking card that I actually sold raw for almost as much as the Curry went for.
Yeah, dude.
It's insane. I was like, how is this possible? I went on auction on that. I just said, F it. I'm just going to go run it on auction, see what happens.
Dude,
both cards sold for almost the same amount of money. And I thought, Stephen Curry, 4-time champion, Bryce Harper color match from Series 1 paper card, not even graded, and you paid the same price almost? What the hell? Like, what's wrong with people?
It's crazy.
I was blasted by that. I just thought, this is crazy.
Yeah. I would figure that I would just real quick do a rundown. Like, I think a lot of people who've been watching a long time kind of understand my process. But after I open a crap ton of cards, which I do often, I take the cards that I think I'm going to grade and I put them in a grading pile. I have like these sitting right here right now, like this is potential graders, right? And I have them sitting around like that I might grade at one point, and there are lots of rookies, prospects, colors, and I just let them sit there. And then I decide, okay, what am I going to do with my other stuff? I used to grind on eBay. That's one option. eBay, low rent stuff, inserts, lots, player lots, you name it. You can do all that stuff. One thing that I've never used and I've considered is sending to ComC. There's tons of people who've had a really good time with ComC selling cards there and love it. Another option that I have, I'm pretty fortunate. Jim and Steve's over in Waukegan, Illinois. He will trade anything. Like if I brought in all my bulk boxes here, okay? If I take these bulk boxes full of inserts, base, you name it, refractors, he literally will, he'll just come up with a price and be like, I'll give you $500 in trade. And then he'll pay you cash, but not much. But the trade's way better, right? And then you can get some product open. And then I've recently gone to the card show's another one. Guys, there's card shows all over the place. Don't be intimidated to go sell at a card show. I was a rookie once. My suggestion to you is to go to your local card show. Go stand around somebody's table and just hang out. Watch how they interact. Look at some of the tables. You'll see people who are very organized. Some people aren't, but they sell stuff. And I had a great time selling. I got away from selling, when my dad got sick, I just couldn't go to the shows. I was missing them. And then maybe I'll start going back again in a couple months, but don't be afraid to go sell your stuff at a card show. Don't be afraid, man. And then lastly,
I should go sell because I'm not to interrupt, but I went to a card show today, and let me tell you, the selection of inventory there at the card show to be bought was the worst card show I've ever seen in my life. The Shipshewana show was here in Indiana. They had a lot of competing shows in Indiana between Indiana and Louisville and Shipshewana. I get it. All the good dealers went to those shows, but the inventory that I saw here, I thought to myself, I sell on eBay. I could take all my eBay listings right now here, and it would be better selection than what I'm seeing.
Dude, I mean, you kind of saw my table for a couple months. It was there. I usually have current products, current players, and that's what people are looking for. Plain and simple. When people are going to a card show, they want current guys who are the hype machine, So the set builders are always looking for the new stuff to fill their insert sets. So I always had that stuff, and I did pretty well at shows. And then the last thing is I found my guy who buys at the card show. There are big dudes. Like, I wasn't at the card show today. I know my guy was there on Facebook. I know another guy who literally, he has traveled he goes to the Dallas Card Show. He went out to California. He goes around the country to all the big shows buying. He was at that Oak Creek show today buying multiple tables. Those guys, there's some big fish at those. They go there and, it's like the best way I can describe it. Just, it's no different than Card Collector 2. Card Collector 2 shows up to your table, and if you have what he's looking for, he's going to spend money with you, and he's going to give you 70% of the comps. And don't be a bozo, guys. If somebody gives you 70% comp on a $100 card, and they're going to do it on $1,000 worth of stuff, sell it, man. Take the $700 and run. That's my best advice I can give you. But because I always get, man, how do you sell cards? I can get rid of all this stuff tomorrow, literally by making one phone call. You gotta find those people. It's easier said than done, but they're at the card shows. That's kind of the point I'm getting to.
Yeah, you just got to be willing to take what they're offering. But you can piecemeal it out too. I mean, for me personally, I think a lot of times about selling the vast majority of my inventory of slabs and other things that I've even PC'd over the last couple of years, because you never know what's going to happen with a son going to college. I mean, maybe I'll have to pay for more of it than I think. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that I contemplate. And yes, if I found a buyer at the right price, sure, I'd sell it in a volume discount, maybe in a heartbeat. But right now, I'm going to be steady on that. Try and trickle it out on eBay. I will run more auctions. I will have to succumb to that at some point. If you want to move cards, sometimes you got to move them at auctions. Then I'm going to have winners and losers, and that's just the name of the game. But I'm going to be a little more careful about it. But
does your card store buy cards or trade for cards?
They buy
card
them,
exchange?
They do. He's usually around. He says he's around 70 to 80% comps, but I think it's hard to tell. I mean, it's hit or miss.
Yeah,
honestly,
depends on what you have.
It depends what you have. If you go there with a bunch of junk to try and move it, he's probably not going to give you a whole lot for it. But if you go there with some really good high-end slabs that he knows he could sell right away, that maybe not high-end, but decent-end stuff that's movable, that's liquid, and players that he sells a lot of, he might give you a pretty strong offer because he knows he can sell it right away.
Yeah. The other two things that I had about selling is I've never done it myself, but I have multiple card shops. I'm pretty fortunate that will have display cases that you can put stuff in for 70, 80%. So you can, like Chicagoland, you can go rent a display case there. There's another new place that has, you can go set up there. I've never done it. So check. I know in Bloomington Normal at the one card shop, forgot the name of it. That's Illinois, Bloomington Normal, Illinois. He was renting out a display. So that's an option. But another big option to me is, I've done it multiple times now, is sending on. I don't have time to list. I'm going to do it pretty soon. When I get this PSA order back, I am going to send out a couple hundred cards to have listed on consignment during this hot time. Guys, the hottest time for sports cards for baseball is coming up. It's already started. We're getting close to the baseball season. I'm going to try to time it where it just starts the week before baseball season starts, and it's starting to crank up where people are buying baseball again. Plus, on top of it, the only new product out for baseball is Series 1. So people are starting to buy, So that was just kind of my 2 cents on buying and selling and whatnot, because there's a lot of ways you can sell stuff.
Yeah. I made a pile. I'm ready to go. I'm trying to trickle it out, but then there will come a week this month that I'll just blitz it and have 20 cards go out a day on auction and just see what happens. But it's going to be stuff that I know, even if it goes lower than I want, I'm okay with it. It's a lot of raw stuff that I probably won't grade, that I'm willing to take. If instead of waiting for the perfect guy to pay $5 for the card, if it ends up going for $3, I just want out of the card, so I'll sell it.
The eBay game that I used to play, the grind got to me. The listing, the packaging, the labels, and just it becomes.
Yeah, I got it. I got a system. I mean, I have a system of how I package and tape stuff. I do a lot of standard envelope sales. There's been a few that didn't get delivered and I had to offer a refund, but it was like $2. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to have some of that over time. Fine. But for the most part, people get their stuff and they get it in a decent amount of time. I have a good system. I print off all the labels in one shot for a day. I lay it all out and I have my tape gun and I go to town and literally I can be through the stuff in like 5 minutes. And that's easy. And I can just do it once a day. And if I sold anything, I just wait to the same time every day. I print it out, done. So
that could be a lot of fun too at times.
It always feels value added when I'm like got a really good sale for the last couple of days. Like when PSA orders pop and I sell stuff and you're like, that's awesome. I got $530 coming back in my account. And I appreciate those days. They don't happen very often, but when they do happen, it's like, that was a good week. That was a really good week.
Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk about with this, I almost forgot. So with that PSA order that I sent last month, like the very beginning of February for that special, whenever I sent it, I could look up the date. I mailed that to the P.O. box in California to PSA. Mm-hmm. So it went to California. It was delivered to California. I looked at the tracking to make sure it got there, and then it scanned in it, and it was in California.
Yep.
A couple days ago when I got the shipping from FedEx for my PSA order, it is being shipped from New Jersey. So I'm like, wait a sec. I sent those to California. They sent that whole order to New Jersey across the country. It got graded in New Jersey, and now it's coming back. I'm like, why didn't they just have me send it to New Jersey?
Yeah, I wondered about that. I had that happen once too. I don't think they actually graded it in New Jersey. I think they actually shipped it to ship it back in New Jersey. And there was a little bit of a delay in there. And I'd wonder why there was so many days of a delay. I actually just had an order pop last week, Tuesday. It did ship back to me yesterday. I want to check and see where it actually shipped from. It did say it shipped from Irvine, California. So I believe it actually was shipped from PSA in California rather than the New Jersey office. But I had a similar thing happen to me much earlier on last year, where it shipped from the New Jersey office, and I was like, why? And I don't think it graded there. I think it actually just in transit they shipped a volume of product to one site to then ship it out from there. Maybe they were backlogged or jammed at the shipping department. Can't get this FedEx thing to pop up. I was going to search it and see. I think it was in Irvine, California, but anyway, I'll do that another time.
I'll have a little PSA reveal on Monday.
I'll go to the PSA app.
My PSA order is supposed to arrive on Monday, and I'm having it. I absolutely love the FedEx option to have it held at Walgreens because I'm never home during the day. So if I missed it, I don't get it. I love it. So I'll have that Monday, and then I have another order that's going out. I already have the special already locked in. Eddie's coming over to send some football out. We're going to box them up together, save on some shipping, and go for there. But, man, the chat's been popping tonight. There's been consistently 100 to 110 people in here tonight. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw this out there, guys. if you can find the Wander 101 Platinum, and if I can purchase it for $1,000 or less, I'll give anybody who finds it $100.
I think the guy, if he actually sold it to you for $1,000, he might do something to himself that he might regret later on. He has to be crying at this point by how devalued that card has gotten. That is, talk about bad beats in the hobby. That's got to be one of the worst beats of all time. To have a card like that he bought for $70,000 now go down 99% of its original value. That's just crazy, crazy, crazy.
I want this card back for $1,000 or less. I'm committed to paying $1,000 or less. So if you're out there to dude who bought this and you want 1,000 of your 78,000 back,
you need to do a witness protection program type video on it. Make a really good produced video in the dark. disguise your voice, hold the plank up and say, I want this card back. I need it back. Here's my asking price. Come find me, blah, blah, blah. I think it'd make for a great video, and then have it go viral.
I need a producer.
Yeah, maybe Wander was the original buyer of that card. You never know.
Hey man, I'll buy it from him if he ever gets in a bid.
I tell you what, I didn't see a lot of Wander for sale at the show today. I did see one guy that had a value box though that had Wander Franco, and it literally had like a whole 2 rows of Wander Franco. So I know he was probably sitting on a lot, and he's just like, I didn't look through it, but I can only imagine there's a lot of Series 1 stuff, and it's probably like sell it all. Like 50 cents a quarter, you price of the top loader more or less. Just take it. I'm gonna make a video on that. I'll have some fun on a fire pit with some Wander Franco base cards. I think it'll make for a funny video. But yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, it's just really interesting. That I don't think anybody expected it to play out like that. I mean, even if you had a mediocre career, it wouldn't have played out that bad.
I know it's weird. It's still don't know what's going to happen with that situation. Hey, you know what? Another thing I forgot about, didn't even have on the list. My Cubbies signed Bellinger. I like that.
I heard they traded for Michael Bush too.
What's that?
I heard they traded for Michael Bush.
Yeah, that was a little bit ago. But has Blake Snell signed yet?
I don't know.
I don't think he has. I can't believe that. Here we are, and Ken's Cardboard said, "Is the hobby dead?" We were just kind of playing that. The hobby is not dead. It's just like there's still some hot stuff.
It's in a transitional mode.
People are still buying.
So one of the features I wanted to have on the show coming week to week, show us a card from your collection that you have. Maybe it's a storytelling type card. Why does it mean something to you? And are you ever going to sell it? Right. So I don't know. Did you bring a card to show? Because I brought one to show. I brought
a card.
Okay. Well, I brought this Giannis Antetokounmpo PSA 10 Prism 75th anniversary card. The story on this card is my wife went to a Target, and this was when Target was stocking like 60 megaboxes at the time, and she said, "Hey, I got this megabox, or I got 3 megaboxes from Target." And I said, "Oh no, why did you do that?" I said, "They overprinted those, don't buy that." And then she's like, "Well, I already bought it." And I said, "Okay, fine, you can rip it." I think we even did this on camera. And back early when I was making videos in 2022, we pulled this card out of the first box, and she said she pulled the card. I didn't pull the card. I was opening up other stuff on camera. She was opening up this one off camera, but then I brought it on camera, and I took a look at it, and I said, that's a really sharp looking version of that. It actually has really good centering and eye appeal. Whenever we grade cards someday, let's turn that one in. And then it came back a 10, and that was the first year that the Bucks had won the championship, I think since the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. And so to us, this card meant something. It's the city we both grew up in. It's the city we both met in. She pulled it off camera, and I gave her crap about buying the box from a Target in the first place. But we got it graded, and it came back a 10. So there you go. That's a funny story of a card that I will probably never sell, but I'm happy to have in our collection.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So here's my story. Some people I think a lot of people know that I'm a disc golf fan, Frisbee golf fan. But I don't think a lot of people know that at one point that I went from semi-pro to I was a professional disc golfer for a while. I was a president of a local disc golf club here in Northern Illinois. I was the Illinois state coordinator for the PDGA. I donated many hours to the disc golf scene. And I was helping at some tournaments as well. And one of the big tournaments comes to Peoria, Illinois. And Paul Macbeth is is like Michael Jordan disc golf. This kid, he's been so awesome. So there's an Ellen Gitzer card. I got him to sign it in red in person. I got a blue one. And then there's also been 2 other years where there's been disc golfers in Allen and Ginter. So Avery Jenkins was the first one. He won the world championship. He was in Allen Ginter. Forgot what year that is. I can't read that. 2010, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then his sister, Valerie Jenkins. So that little set of autographs, I got those hand signed in person at that same tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I won't sell these, but you would be surprised if you go find Paul Macbeth stuff for Allen and Ginter, what his stuff sells for. Like I mean, real good money too. So anyway,
that's a crazy story, and I think your story makes it a little more personal than mine because you're actually connected to that sport. But yeah, I think for me, it'd be racing stuff. I've got a bunch of Elio Castroneves autographs from all the years that he won the Indy 500. I always got the winning picture when he was drinking milk in the victory circle. We always got that signed the next year. And so we've got 4 of those from all 4 times he'd won the Indy 500. So I could show that next time. But yeah, those are hanging up on the wall in our office. So speaking of racing, I wanted to point it out. K Cards mentioned about F1. They actually had their first race today. Yeah, he's right. Max Verstappen doesn't look like he's going to be beatable again this year.
He won again today?
He won big time today. It wasn't even a race. I mean,
unbelievable.
What's that?
I said unbelievable.
Yeah, Perez was second, I think, and he pretty much just ran away with it. So yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with F1 this year. It doesn't look like it's going to be terribly competitive. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton will switch teams next year. That'll bring in a little hype. He'll be in a Ferrari red. So that might draw some card interest even with Hamilton and his new jersey, more or less, or new uniform. So, but he seems to be a mid-pack guy right now, like kind of low-end top 10. I don't know if whenever they switch chassis, he really hasn't regained the form that he had when he won all those championships. He just hasn't been the same guy.
That's crazy. I'm a huge NASCAR fan, and man, last week's NASCAR finish was absolutely one of the best races I've ever seen finish. I wish NASCAR and these TV channels, I wish they would use social media to get people excited. Let's face it, the casual fan is not going to watch a whole NASCAR race. But I don't know if you're on ESPN. When I'm on ESPN, I'm on the app, and it'll say, hey, maybe some college basketball team, there's 2 minutes to go, and it's coming down the stretch. Or somebody went to overtime. And it might not be a game you're interested in. And you're like, oh, I'll turn it on. It's a good game, right? Mm-hmm. But I wish NASCAR would come on and hit Twitter, Facebook, push notifications, use whether it's Fox or NBC or whoever they're on, and would say there is 20 laps to go in this race. Because even me, I don't sit there and watch all the races anymore. I used to. I don't have enough time for that crap. But I do turn in for the end of the race. And man, that was one. Did you see the finish of that race? Any replays?
No, I didn't. We're not talking about Daytona, right?
No. It was absolutely incredible. At Atlanta, they had the record number of lead changes.
They redid that track. They redid that track a couple years ago to try and make it more raceable. I think they increased the banking or had progressive banking in the turns. They did a really good job on that in terms of making that track very multi-groove, which I think it had become a one-groove track.
Yep.
So, yeah, I know. I mean, I know racing for me, that's for ERB Sports' channel when it comes to betting. The B in ERB is betting. We don't do a ton of betting videos, but we will be doing betting videos because the IndyCar season starts next week down in St. Petersburg over on the Grand Prix circuit on the airport there. Got a lot of parity in that sport. Usually that's what is the formula to my success is if a guy wins one week, I know he's not going to win the next week. So I don't bet on him. And so I used to have a really good rhythm there and I would pay attention to practice and last practice times and track position and sort of a do-ness factor. And hopefully I get on. I was just above 500 last year, but the year prior I was like 85% picking correct winners. So, but yeah, I can't wait for that to start. Should be a pretty exciting season coming up. And then the month of May here in Indianapolis, always want to make it out to the track for that one. I'm still waiting for you, Brett. You got a place to stay here. You can bring your dog. We'll go to the track. If you've never been there for an Indy 500 practice day, you're missing out, man.
Yeah, I need to get down there. That going back to that NASCAR race, 3 wide coming to the checker flag. I'm a Kyle Busch fan, and I didn't know who won. They had to go to a photo finish for that race. It was incredible. It was incredible. Yeah, I would like to get back to the Brickyard sometime, maybe down the road. But man, holy crap. What else is going on? Did you have anything on your list? Because I think I hit everything on my list.
The only other thing I wanted to talk briefly on was the NBA. We're getting down to crunch time here. We're almost to the final 20-some games to go. Lots and lots of playoff race implications on a nightly basis. It's really exciting for the teams that I follow, the Bucks, the Kings, and I throw the Warriors in because of Steph Curry. Let me tell you, about 3 weeks ago, the Warriors were down for the count. They were sucking like nobody's business. They were 20, I forget, was it 20 and 25 or something like that? They've literally been like 13 and 2 in their last 15 games. They're now 5 games over 500. They've won 8 straight games on the road. Steph Curry's playing like an MVP again. They made some lineup changes. Draymond's no longer a head case. Don't count out the Warriors. Even though they lost to the Nuggets the other night, even though they lost to the Clippers in the month of February, don't count out the Warriors. I never thought I would see it in this season where the Warriors are now getting hot at the right time. I hate to see it as a Kings fan too. The Kings won last night in a game when Fox didn't play. Sabonis fouled out. On the road in Minnesota, K-Cards' Timberwolves, they never lose at home. That game went to overtime. I know the Kings probably didn't deserve to win the game because they made some critical the Timberwolves made some critical turnovers late in the game, but that was one hell of a game down the stretch. I was glued to the television for the fourth quarter and overtime because I thought, the Kings better pull this out. They got to pull this one out. But that's going on. And then the Bucks. Everybody said Doc Rivers was a shitty coach, and they were terrible. They haven't lost a game coming out of the All-Star break. So now they're playing hot, and anything can happen in basketball. The Warriors are hot. The Bucks are hot. The Kings are up and down. You just never know what's going to happen. I tell you, some new team's going to win a title this year, whether it's the Celtics, whether it's the Suns, whether it's I don't think it's going to be a repeat champion. I don't think one of the big ones are going to win. I don't think you're going to see the Lakers, or you might not see the Warriors. You might see the Bucks, the Celtics, the Suns, the Thunder. You just never know. You never know. It's going to be different this year.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little more parity this year.
Yeah, injuries can play a big role, but it's really interesting to think that all these teams that I just mentioned, some of them were super, super cold, and now all of a sudden they're red hot again. And it's right when it matters.
That's awesome.
So.
Oh, man. I guess the last thing I have is, if you're in the Chicagoland area, Sports Spectacular is coming up March 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's always a pretty big show. I'm interested to see what it's like this year. I'm pretty certain I'm going to go on the 16th, at least for the morning. I'll probably go get there 30 minutes before it opens and stay till lunch at least. And then if the show's popping and I'm finding some stuff, I might stay longer. We'll see. But that's all I got tonight, man. That was fun. Another fun week. We've had a huge, probably the most active chat that we've ever had
Yeah,
So
probably the most we've ever had in the live stream for one of our shows. Thanks for everybody for the comments. Hopefully we didn't miss anybody. I know we probably missed a few, but we didn't necessarily want to forget about your comments. It's a lot to cover in an hour. My son is at a birthday party for one of his classmates. I know he's going to call me or text me at any minute to go get him. I know he should get his damn license by now. That's another story for another.
yeah,
He's an 18-year-old kid without his license. But, kids these days, sometimes they just don't want to drive. I swear, we live right next to the high school. Only because he can walk to school, that's why he doesn't drive. If he had to drive to school or take the bus, he would have got his license by now. But it's too convenient to walk to school and walk to practice and walk and do whatever else he needs to do because he does it from house or the home. And we'll see what happens in college. But yeah, I'm gonna go back over there and pick him up and say hi to some old friends that we used to live next door to back like 15 years ago. So that is how it's funny. I'd never. They had interfaced once or twice during middle school, but I hadn't seen those two together in like really together in like they used to play like daily. The Hannah and Braden used to play daily, and it was so funny. Paul, who's Hannah's dad, was like, "I'm never gonna let Braden get near Hannah when Braden gets older," and I'm like. And they moved away, so we didn't have to worry about that. But I'm not saying they're like they like each other or anything like that. But it's not like that. But it's funny though. They're both turned 18 now, and I'm like, God, you guys are all grown up. It's crazy.
dude, time flies, man. Time flies. Speaking of which, I need to get this signed. My nephew was a senior in high school. Basketball season coming to an end. Need to get him to sign this. His mother made these cards. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But oh man, dude, what another week. Oh, that was one thing I didn't even miss. Chris just put it in there. We talked about Caitlin Clark breaking the record. She's announced she's going to go to the WNBA before we wrap up. Maybe we should wait till next week. I think that's a mistake financially.
She's going to Indiana.
If I was her financial advisor, I would tell her to stay in college. She'll make more money. But who am I?
I think Reggie Miller talked her into it. She's going to the Indiana Fever. I guarantee, unless she doesn't want to play for the Fever, she's going to go to the Fever because the Fever have the #1 pick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Caitlin Clark's going to be here in my city. So that'll be super, super hyped at Indy Card Exchange of Caitlin Clark.
You'll have to go get your first Bowman cards and get them signed, buddy.
I know, right? That's crazy, right? Think that Reggie Miller pointed it out during the All-Star game or during All-Star weekend. He's like, Caitlin, you got to go into the draft. Not the Pacers, the Fever have the '1 pick. So yeah, it's really interesting.
It's crazy, but. All right, man, let's wrap this up. We've gone longer than we usually do. We're an hour and 20 minutes. But that was a fun night. Again, thanks to everybody who came in the chat. We had a ton of people. Sorry if we missed you. I've been reading the chat the whole time. It's just this is something different than our normal, it's hard to comment and keep a flow going with the topics. So
yep.
John, good to see you, buddy. Happy Saturday night, not Friday night.
All right. Take us out of here.
Until next week. Peace.
See ya.